We came, we saw, he died.
We've gone from overt psychosis to treason, sedition. The story today that broke in the New York Times is the greatest act against America that I've seen in my entire life. I've never seen anything like it. It's the kind of act that in a sane nation that was not drugged would bring about a revolution. A revolution that would unite the people. A revolution saying enough is enough. This corruption of the Clintons has gotten to a point where they must be immediately indicted and tried for the crimes against this nation. What am I talking about? It's the greatest scandal of your life. There is no greater scandal I have ever seen in my life. And it is about the uranium in the ground in the United States of America that was sold off to the Russians. And where did this article appear? It appeared in the right-wing New York Times. The right-wing New York Times reported, as a result of this incredible book about the money that's being doled out to all of these corrupt individuals, is the Russian president, an American president, and the woman who would like to be the next one. And at the heart of this tale, according to the New York Times, are several men, leaders of the Canadian mining industry, who are big donors to the endeavors of Bill Clinton and his family. They built, financed, and sold off to the Russians a company that would become known as Uranium One. There are names to these men. One of them is Frank Giustra, Giustra. And he is seen in a picture with former President Bill Clinton at a Clinton Foundation news conference in 2007. Beyond the uranium mines in Kazakhstan that are among the most lucrative uranium mines in the world, this sale, arranged by these men through Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton, according to this article, at least allegedly, gave the Russians control of 1/5 of all the uranium production capacity in the United States. Do you have any idea what the strategic implications are for national security? Well, they are so grave that such a sale would have to have been approved by a committee composed of representatives from a number of U.S. governmental agencies. And among the agencies that would have had to approve this sale was none other than the State Department, then headed by Hillary Clinton. And as the Russians gradually assumed control of Uranium One in 3 separate transactions from 2009 to 2013, Canadian records show us that a flow of cash made its way to the Clinton Foundation. Uranium One's chairman used his family foundation to make 4 donations totaling $2.35 million. That's peanuts. That's what the surface shows. And by the way, all of you good liberals, those contributions to the foundation run by, I think, the daughter, were not publicly disclosed by the Clintons, despite an agreement that Mrs. Clinton signed with the Obama White House to publicly identify all donors. Shortly after the Russians announced their intention to acquire a majority stake in Uranium One, guess what happened? Bill Clinton received $500,000 for a speech in Moscow from a Russian investment bank with links to the Kremlin that was promoting Uranium One stock. Do you understand what I'm saying to you? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? I'll go on. This New York Times examination of the Uranium One deal is based on dozens of interviews, as well as a review of public records and securities filings in Canada. But some of the connections between Uranium One and the Clinton Foundation were unearthed by Peter Schweizer. Schweizer is the most amazing author of our time. He's the author of the forthcoming book, Clinton Cash. And the fact of the matter is, this book should bring down the Democrat government. Now, I know that Republicans are corrupt. Don't get me wrong. Don't think I'm going to sit here and tell you I'm going to support Republicans right now. I know that there's corruption in that party that would make your head spin. However, there are different levels of everything. And this level of corruption approaches sedition, outright sedition. Now, the New York Times says this: whether the donations played any role in the approval of the uranium deal is unknown. How can anyone listening to this show not understand what has gone on? How can anyone listening to this show tell me that you still believe Hillary Clinton is not only worthy of the office of the presidency with such a scummy, filthy relationship that the country itself can't stand anymore, but that the New York Times and other bastions of liberalism are calling it the disastrous Clinton post-presidency. The New York Times, as I just said, reported about the State Department's decision to approve the sale of uranium mines to a Russian company, which donated $2.35 million to the Clinton Global Initiative. And then a Russian investment bank promoted the deal, paid Bill $500,000 for a stinking speech in Moscow. The right-wing Washington Post reports that Bill Clinton received $26 million in speaking fees from entities that also donated to the Clinton Global Initiative. The Washington Examiner reports 22 of the 37 corporations nominated for a prestigious State Department award, and 6 of the 8 ultimate winners, while Hillary Clinton was Secretary of State, were also donors to the Clinton Family Foundation. In other words, they bought their awards. And Reuters, another bastion of the right, says that Hillary Clinton's family charities are refiling at least 5 annual tax returns after a Reuters review found errors in how they reported donations from governments and said they may audit other Clinton Foundation returns in case of other errors. I want to ask you something. If you filed a false tax return and you got caught, would your government, would your IRS, would Obama's IRS permit you to refile your tax return? They put you in jail. They wouldn't let you refile. They would have caught you. What do you mean, when you get caught, you refile? What, if you're Hillary Clinton, you do what you want? Yes. So the article goes on and says the Clinton campaign is batting down the darkest and most conspiratorial interpretation of these stories, and where all this leads remains to be seen. But the most positive interpretation is not exactly good. Do you get the picture or don't you? This is the most corrupt family in the history of the United States of America, according to every source that I can put together, and that includes all the liberal sources.